Hello, everyone. In this video, I will give you a guide and tips for chapter 6 of my Java book. Chapter 6 is methods. So the benefits of the methods allows you to define reusable code and organize and simplify coding and make code easy to maintain. So we can see from the example in the introduction in section 6.1, so you can write this code without using methods. But if you reorganize the code using methods, it can be simplified and the code can be reused. And here you have a method. So that is really the advantage of using methods, is to develop reusable code. In section 6.2, you learn how to define a method. So look at the term here. We have this define, not declare method. We declare a variable, but we define a method. So when you declare a variable, you allocate memory space. But when you define a method, you don't actually allocate memory space and for the method. And only when you invoke the method, you have the call stack allocating memory space for calling a method. So this is an example in defining a method. So you have the method header and the body, and if the method return value, so you have return value. So please study this section and get to know how to define a method and learn all this and the key terms regarding defining a method, signatures, formal parameters, arguments, returning values. So all this, and here in this section 6.2. Section 6.3, calling a method. So how you call a method? If a method return value, so you call the method just like using it as a value. So you can assign the value. So here's max 3, 4. You assign the result of maximum between 3 and 4 to this variable. So this is a value. You can print this value here. So this is a call, calling a method if method return value. So, and here you can see how you're going to trace a method, how method is called, and using this animation. All right, so this is the diagram to picture and how a method is called. So when this method is called, and you go to this, the method, calling the method, and when this method is returned, you're going back to this caller. So this is the one. So here, and you can see here and see the call stack and how method is called using a call stack to illustrate it. All right, so the next section, look at there's two kinds of methods, a method return value or the method doesn't return value. If the method doesn't return value, that's a void method. So the void method. So we're going to see how you define a void method, how you call a void method. So see the difference between the two. So using this example here, here's the get grade, so return a grade. And this, the next one here is to, and right here, it's actually before this is a void, it's print a grade. It doesn't return a value, so it just performs some action. So in this case, the action is a print the grade. So when you invoke this, so here's a print grade. passing arguments by value. So this is how the values, the parameters are passed as by value. So you look at this example here. So we're going to see how this is done by passing a value is using this example here is the increment. So here x is 1, and now invoke increment. And this is right here, you increment this n by 1. This is n and now becomes 2. But after this finished, and x is not changed because this is passed by value. So you can see exactly how it works through this any measure. So this section, you look at this majorizing code and using methods. So a lot of code you have written before this chapter, now you can improve it, modify it, and using methods to develop reusable code. So this is here a couple of examples in this section. So the first one here is for the GCD, greatest common divisor, and this is the one is the finding prime numbers. So here's a case study and converting decimal numbers to hexadecimal numbers to decimal numbers. So this is the how you convert it. So and we write the method and for this purpose. Now, overloading methods. So you can define two methods using the same name as long as they have different signatures. So this is very useful, convenient. You don't have to reinvent different names. So like you have max of 2 int values, max of 2 double values, you still use the max. You don't have to invent new names. So this is max for 2 double values. And you can see here, we have the max for 2 int values, and here's max for 3 values. So there's same max and with different parameters. All right, so that's overloading. And this is the scope of variables. So scope of variables, when you have a method here, so look at the scope of variables here. So if you have this for loop here, so this is I is defined right here in the for loop, and then it ends at the for loop ending. So inside you have this is you can have this is another variable declared. The scope is at the end of the block. So this is another example, and here you have a for loop, and this is I here, and the I ends right here, the scope of I here. So now you can redeclare I, and because they're not in the same scope. All right, and so this is useful, generating random characters. We know how to generate random numbers, random double values. So using the math.random and returning a value between 0.0 and less than 1.0. And here, how do you generate a random character? So that's very useful. And so study this section. And the next is to look at method abstraction and stepwise refinement to develop large software program. All right, so this is the one. So read this and see what top-down design and top-down testing or bottom-up testing. So look all this here. All right, that is all for this chapter. But before I leave here, I wanted to show you one more thing here is in exercise. So in exercise, so please follow the instruction when you do the exercise, it asks you specifically to write a method and then use the method in your program. Now, so that's very important. When you write the code to follow the instruction, think about it. Hey, you need to write methods. You could just write everything in one method, still work, get the same result, but that's not all this program exercise required. The requirement is that you write the methods, and then in the main program, and you call the method. In some cases, you write multiple methods. All right, so here you can see this is the a note. I put it here. It's a common error for the exercise in this chapter. So please read this note box. That is all for the guide and tips for this chapter. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.